This episode is exclusively sponsored by Boehringer Ingelheim.
Welcome to At the Meeting. My name is Montse Torremore, and I have with me Dr. Tom Wetzel. Hi, Tom.
Monse, good to be here. Looking forward to our discussion today.
Yeah, it's very good to have you. I also have with me Dr. Gordon Sprong. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, Monse. How are you today?
Very good. It's good to see you.
And it's also good to see you and Tom and our special guest.
Our special guest. Yes, today we have a very special guest with us. We have invited Dr. Joel Nerem. Dr. Joel Nerem is a veterinarian at PIPESTONE Veterinary Services, and he gave the distinguished Howard Dune Memorial Lecture at the 2024 ASV meeting. And his topic was thought-provoking and, more importantly, a call for action for swine veterinarians and swine industry leaders. So, Joel, your topic was next generation swine veterinarians. Who are we and where we are going? First of all, welcome. It's great to see you, Joel.
Good morning, Monse and Tom and Gordon. Thank you for the invitation to be here today.
So, Joel, I'm sure as you were getting ready for your talk, you were thinking about the challenges that veterinarians and the industry face today, and you probably were contrasting them with the challenges of many years ago. Could you help us frame those challenges for producers and veterinarians today within the swine industry, within what's happening?
Sure. Well, as I thought about what I wanted to say and what I perceived, I had significant help from my colleagues, both at Pipestone and within the industry. So this isn't all my own thoughts and my own work. I don't want to misrepresent that, but certainly as I think about the challenges that we face, the first one is disease. There's a lot of disease challenges, and that's right in the wheelhouse of veterinarians, right? And so if I didn't talk about what were some of the disease challenges and a way of thinking about how to advance the industry and raise the level of health across the industry, then I wouldn't be doing my job as a veterinarian. So that was one part of the talk. And then secondly, I thought about what's one of our major threats as an industry, and that's African swine fever. And that's an existential threat for many producers, should that come to the United States. And so that was the second segment of my discussion, and really talking about where I think we need to go with traceability as a way of preparedness. And then finally, I talked about the consumer. How are we as veterinarians and the industry responding to what the consumer wants, as we think about pork demand and as we think about some of the attributes and housing requirements that are coming at us. And those can be a little controversial, but I decided to weigh in there as well.
Yeah, I thought that was go ahead, Gordon.
Well, that's a good thing. So three big buckets, if you will, Joel. Let's dive in just a little bit. First on the disease elimination, what's really the next generation veterinarian going to look like, both at the farm level and at the national level? How did you challenge your audience?
I think just philosophically, I think we as veterinarians have to start thinking more about how do we just eliminate diseases? How do we prepare our clients in the industry to get rid of diseases that are causing significant health and welfare issues in swine today, rather than just responding and living with them? And so we can do that at the farm level. We can do that at the regional or national level. And so one of those tools that I mentioned in the talk is what we consider to be next generation biosecurity, which is really a combination of manage, and it's primarily focused on PRRS. But if you can keep PRRS out of your farm, you can pretty much keep about any disease out. And so if we're utilizing what we defined as next generation biosecurity, and we provided some data that supported its use, we believe you can raise the health plane of a production system or a farm to a much, much higher level and more profitable level. And so I think the call to veterinarians is we have to start thinking about, how do I do that for my individual client, which means embracing next generation biosecurity. It might even embrace next generation system design, which might mean your farm's in the wrong place. And so, but it's possible, and we're seeing it done. And I believe that the very successful producers in the next generation will be the ones that have the highest health.
Yeah, Joel, this whole idea of moving the industry in a certain direction starts with a baseline of knowing where you're at. And I thought you did a really good job in your talk of discussing a little bit about how you're categorizing farms on their level of disease at this time. So you got green light, yellow light, and red light, and that's based on whether they're stable, whether they're positive or they're negative, positive, stable, or unstable, basically, right? And different diseases that are associated with those farms. And what I thought was interesting on this point, and why I think moving towards elimination of diseases, was the difference you had between those red and green farms was close to $8 a pig when it came out. And that's about making a negative pig basically at the sow farm, which truly is where the industry needs to be heading now and not even into the future, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right, Tom. We were a bit surprised that we knew that the health of the pig at placement was critical, but I didn't realize it was worth $8 because that only accounts for the health at placement, and so we think that that's a huge advantage.
You'll talk later a little bit about welfare, but we'll get to that, right?
Absolutely.
A healthy pig is economically advantageous for the producer, but also has welfare attributes also. Since a healthy pig, you use less or no antibiotics. So, but we'll talk about that later. Joel, talk a little bit about ASF and foreign animal disease. You spoke to that. What issues did you raise to challenge your audience there?
Yeah, I think ASF continues to be a huge threat to the U.S. industry, to the North American industry, and so there's been a lot of good work on preparation. There's a lot of great initiatives out there. Really what I told everyone, what do we tell our clients every day? Make sure you've got a secure pork supply plan for your farm. Make sure you've got 30 days of movement data. Right, that's what every producer should be doing today, and then participate in U.S. SHIP. U.S. SHIP is the best tool or vehicle we have from a preparedness perspective for foreign animal disease. We should be doing all of those things. Then my challenge is that how we respond to a foreign animal disease is going to be really based on how good of a traceability system do we have in place, based on the structure of our industry. And today, I think there's been some good work with AgView and RabApp and others, but those I don't believe are to the level that we need and that we are capable of implementing to respond. And so my call was really for a next generation traceability that is real time, it's accurate, and it's easy. And think of a tool like Uber that we use every single day. I'm certain that there are many companies that could produce something very similar to that would raise us to a next generation level of traceability that would help us to respond in the time of need.
Yeah, I thought that was a great example, Joel, of some next generation technology that we need to get implemented. We talk a lot about it. Gordon, there's the mandated part, you mentioned that in your talk too, and that now has got the full support of the industry with what has been passed with the NPPC on the resolution of mandated traceability. But how are we going to get there? And you mentioned this thing right here, the phone. Is we've got that, we really do have the base of the technology in our hands.
We do. We just need a commitment by the industry to advance it. And that is also going to take some dollars to do that. But I think we have to really start focusing on the outcome, which is 100% traceability that's real-time, accurate, and easy. We're just going to have to move that forward.
Yeah, and because we know when we move pigs, let's say, that's point number one for disease control, right? And in particular, when you think about a foreign animal disease to protect the exports. So 30%, I think you talk about our products, the swine or pork is being exported. So it would be very damaging to the industry to have a foreign animal disease and then not be able to move the products. Before we move on to welfare, you talk a little bit about that. When I think about next generation biosecurity, I also think about focusing on the grow finish, right? A lot of the things we do, it's in the sow farms. Can you touch on some of your initiatives specific to the grow finish that are necessary to have in place?
Sure, no, happy to. Yeah, we one thing that's interesting is when we talk to farmers, there's a disconnect between the level of biosecurity that they expect at a breeding herd versus what they expect at a nursery finisher wean to finish site. So we developed a tool called our wean to market biosecurity assessment, which is a one-page scorecard meant to assess wean to market sites on their level of biosecurity. And so we did this for a couple of reasons. Number one, just to sort of gauge what is the relative level of biosecurity out there in the various categories that we know are important. And then we've gone out and we've scored hundreds of sites today, and with the goal of being to help point out or illustrate some of the deficits that are out there, and to just use as a tool to drive continuous improvement. How do we make incremental improvement across these wean to market sites over time? Our contention is that, and there's a lot of great work by Schick and everyone right now trying to look at, do research into wean to market biosecurity. And I think that's all great. One thing that we think though is that, well, for a lot of things we already know what to do, we're just not doing them. Mm-hmm. And so we need to figure out how to get those things done.
How to make it happen. Yeah,
exactly. Which is one of the reasons we've launched a project called our Cost of Disease Project, which is focused on looking at these wean to market sites that we've done assessments on. So they have a biosecurity score. We know the health status of the pig entering those farms based on the simplified health status that we score sow farms at. And now this project is a surveillance project to look at the rate of disease introduction into farms with a known health status and a known biosecurity status. Mm-hmm. And so the goal is to hopefully determine the frequency of disease introduction, understand what the cost of that is based on performance and financial records for those wean to market enterprises, and then determine what the frequency of disease introduction is versus biosecurity practices in place, so that hopefully we can assign a dollar value to a return on implementing those biosecurity practices.
And your surveys that you've already done are showing some high risk. You categorized your different areas that you think are important to next generation biosecurity grower finisher, and supply entry was one that just jumps up really quickly, that it's really high. I think personnel entry was another one, Joel. You know what I find really interesting about this whole discussion on next generation, you guys, is I think back in a career we've always been about moving forward and how do we progress in the industry. But what's driving us now is data. So it's how do we take this data? How do we accumulate the right amount of data to make decisions to move into the next generation? And Joel, I just congratulate you again on this project, because that's exactly what you're going to be doing with that cost of disease project. It's data that will make your decisions easier to implement and move in the right direction going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. We're really excited about this project. It is underway now. We've got groups on feed that we're actually monitoring and now doing the disease surveillance on. We've got enough funding to do 100 sites, and we're also looking to get funding to do 100 more, with the total of being 200 sites in the whole project. And so we've applied for a Schick grant, and we're crossing our fingers on that. So.
Hey, I want to point out one other thing that was in Joel's talk, and this is a little bit of old school, but I believe as we move forward in next generation, we can't lose sight of something. Joel, I got to look it up. You wrote it down. I wrote it down because it was actually from one of your mentors, Bob Peters, a veterinarian in Harmony, Minnesota, and it says you um, you learn more by not, or you lose more by not looking than you do by not knowing. Or so so I think the reality is we still have to keep looking at the pigs. We have to understand the pigs. We have to spend time with the pigs, with the farmer, and not just look at data to make our decisions, because being in the barn and being with the pigs we know is critical even to the next generation. So we got to keep emphasizing that.
Yeah,
But
fully agree.
But I also, Joel, an aspect of your presentation that I think it's very true, and as veterinarians, maybe we don't think about it, is the other side, the consumer, right? So because we focus about what happens in the farm, but part of the challenge now is to look at the other end, and not just at the producer and the pig, but also look at the consumer. What do you see there? How do veterinarians can help, or how should we change our thought process so that we focus on the consumer as well?
Sure, that's a great question, Monsi. And my in preparing for this talk, I was preparing for it in a time of great difficulty for my clients, just simply because of the state of the market. Farmers were losing lots and lots of money because the hog market was poor, and so thinking about how do we that's number one, thinking about pork demand, right? And so as we look at, and I showed some charts of pork demand over time, and it's essentially flat for the last 50 years. And we all know what poultry, what chicken and others have done over that time period, turkey as well. And then beef is incredibly profitable right now. They're making lots of money. And so the pig guy has flat consumption and poor prices. Thank goodness that's turning now. But just sort of thinking about that, right? And now swine veterinarians aren't probably going to do much to drive pork demand. That's not our wheelhouse. We're not marketers. That's probably not our area. But the one thing that we've seen that the consumer, and we can all debate about how mainstream some of these things are, but we definitely get feedback from the consumer with respect to how we raise pigs. And so you think about Prop 12, you think about open pen gestation, we can think about lots of other attributes, concerns about antibiotic use. There's lots of things that the consumer, that we're getting signals from, that there are certain consumer preferences, right? And we immediately in the industry bristle at that, because it's like someone else telling us how to farm and how to be a veterinarian. But at the end of the day, those are the folks that are buying the pork. And some of these things, I think we need to have more of an open mind. And in my encouragement to the next generation veterinarian is that I think there's going to be more of this, not less. I think that within that there will be opportunities for farmers that can figure out how to meet a consumer demand and make money at it, which they have to do. And in the process of doing that, the veterinarian is going to be absolutely key in helping the farmer meet that consumer demand or preference, because most of these things are requiring us to change a production practice or to do something different that has animal health and welfare implications. And that's right at the core of the swine veterinarian's wheelhouse. And so my encouragement to next generation veterinarians is that these things are going to continue. Be prepared for that and look for the opportunity in that, because it's a great way for an individual veterinarian to sort of put their thumbprint on the industry, or to really, really help farmers and to really, really help pigs.
So you're talking about
you
being an advocate for the swine industry to the consumer.
Yes, but also seeing an opportunity to help design. So as we go to, as Prop 12 becomes a preference, or already has, right? Veterinarians should be active in helping farmers determine what's the best design of a farm for the welfare of the animals and the overall performance and profitability of the farmer in order to meet that consumer preference. That's where the veterinarian has the knowledge about animal behavior and animal welfare and vices, and how do we create an environment where pigs can thrive in order to meet that expectation. That's my encouragement to the veterinarian. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Plenty of opportunity, Joel. You did a nice job of outlining it for our next generation of veterinarians.
Yeah, and I want when I end the recording in some way with that optimistic look ahead, right? I mean, we know there are challenges. There has always been challenges, but there are opportunities. And veterinarians, swine veterinarians, and swine industry leaders certainly play a role in shaping the next generation of veterinary practices, the swine industry, and we look forward to the challenge. So with that, Joel, we thank you. Again, congratulations in the distinguished lecture you gave at the ASV. Great honor, and we hope to see you next time at the meeting.
Thank you.
This episode is exclusively sponsored by Boehringer Ingelheim. The views, opinions, or positions expressed are those of the speakers and may not reflect those of any other organization.